Hello, everyone. Wow, what a great crowd.
I broke it.
Yeah. As long as we aren't as intermittent as the microphone, we'll be great. My name is John Stockard, or you can call me Sailor John. Just made that up. I was the privilege to be the voice director of Sailor Moon for the second 2 years, the second 2 seasons, and for all the moviettes. But the more important people are to my left, and I'm going to put you on to them. We'll field your questions. I'll be patient. Hopefully you can get through everybody's, but I seriously doubt it. So, a lot of you here. Thank you all very much.
My name is Ballantyne, and I was Sailor Moon. And now I officially love every single person in this room. Let's start the lineup for kisses now. I broke the microphone again. Thank you so much for coming here, and thank you so much for being, again, John.
Okay, I'm trying. I'm my field of expertise.
Hello. I think it's this part here. This is it.
I got the gain up, I got the volume up. I'm lost.
I think it's this bit right here. But who cares? I'll be so gentle with it now. I would like to thank you all for being so generous and so loving. You guys are the most wonderful people. Honest to God, this is my very first conference I've ever done, my first anime thing. I know. And I swear to you, I am going to be having Christmas dinner with every single one of you. Because my family does not nearly love me as much as you guys do.
Actually, one of your daughters does.
One of my daughters is right there in the corner. That's my daughter, Shay. I have 3 daughters, and she, because she is here, now she's my favorite. Just I think that's fair enough, don't you, Shay? Yeah. My little mini moon. Hello.
I'm Katie Griffin, and I played Sailor Mars. And I too am really grateful for everybody, for all the support. This is insane. We worked so hard on this show, and it was just it was such a long time ago, and it's just you don't realize how many Sailor Moon fans there are until you're here. So thank you very much for coming out.
Hello everybody, I'm Susan Roman. I played Sailor Jupiter. Thank you so much. You know, all of us are just blown away by how incredible everybody is, how open and loving and demonstrative everybody is. I mean, sometimes we think of Canadians and Canadian fans as being like sort of uber polite and reserved and, well, you know, and I'm so glad that you're not, because we can feel it, you know, coming back at us every time we meet you in autograph sessions or other panels or whatever. And it's great to see you all dressed up. It's great to see the artwork that you've done, the photographs that you've made and that you've given to us. We really don't deserve it, because we went in and we did our best and we did our job.
That's a lot of baloney, yes you do.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I'll pay you later at the door. So, anyway, I guess we should start with the questions and away we go. Who wants to field it?
So first off, thank you so much for creating like a masterpiece of a show. And my question is, when you started at the very beginning, did you ever think that it would become something this big? Like when you were writing, do you think it was going to be like something iconic that it has turned into now?
This one's definitely for Susan.
Well, if I'd been Sailor Moon, it would have been even more iconic. No, I'm just... No, at the beginning, we thought that it was really, really neat because it was the first time that any of us had seen 5 female characters portrayed so strongly, and that they had fights with one another, but they always had each other's back, and that was kind of unusual. So I was very excited about it, but I didn't really know because it was the first of its kind. You know, the costumes and the transforming and the whole 9 yards. But when I saw the first dub, when we had finally got the first show done in English, I said to myself, I think we're onto something. How did you feel? Because Katie was there at the beginning too.
I actually had no idea. We went in there and I didn't know it was going to be as big as it is until I started to see the merchandise. And then I saw, yeah, maybe it's going to be big. I think it is. And then, yeah, anyway, I can just keep rambling because that's what I do. But yeah, no, I had no idea until much, much later.
I know. I'm using this one. Now, because I was the 3rd Sailor Moon, technically. Not technically, I was the 3rd Sailor Moon. I knew that Sailor Moon was like the kids liked it, and you know, they were all watching it, so that's kind of neat. And so I went and auditioned for it, and then I get this part, and all of a sudden, the gravity of what I just got hit me, and I was like, oh God, what have I done? I can't be her. Like, she's already huge. Oh no, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? So I really struggled with it back and forth. And I also, because we didn't have the internet like we do today, you know, I didn't realize how humongous it was. And, you know, slowly as the years have peeled back, you really realize, wow, this is something that's really great to be part of. I'm very proud to be part of it.
I'll add something to that because being a voice director, I dealt with performers, plus I also dealt with production. And if anybody could possibly comprehend the insanity that transpired with all the production people, the changing of studios, the personalities that you will never ever get to experience because this is what you see. You see what's on TV and you're meeting the performers, but that level above was in such a state of disarray that I'll be honest with you, I never thought it was going to go because it was just insane. There were panic attacks by various people. There was just the insanity of getting it done in time, and meeting deadlines, and things missing, things not arriving. Remember, of course, as... I like this. Of course, we weren't in the technological age that we are in now, and because of that, we had to wait till physical tapes arrived, and we were doing it on a rhythmoband system, so sometimes the actual video and then what is called the rhythmoband, which was the English track matching the lip movements of the original Japanese, sometimes came separately, and sometimes they were incredibly delayed because it was all land transport and sometimes air transport and sometimes by whatever it was getting it from Montreal as well, where a lot of the initial work was done. And so I hate to be the guy that says, I don't know, but I didn't know at the beginning that it was going to be the hit that it was. And to me it took a little bit of a little time for it to sort of sink in and go, wow, they like it. They really like it. And the rest as they say.
Alright, if Sailor Moon, Mars, and Jupiter were competing for a beauty pageant and God was the judge, what would you say to convince him that you should get the title?
If they were all competing...
First of all, I'd win. That's all there is to it.
If they were all competing and I were the judge?
Yeah, and then they have to convince you, what would they say?
You know what? I'm going to let you come up here and put you in that position, okay? Are you kidding? You know what? I know all these ladies very, very well. I've worked with all of them. They're all very lovely ladies. They're all exceptionally talented, which is the real thing. The real crux of it is, can you do the job? Are you more than just a competent performer? Can you take a script and make it dance? And all of these people can. They are wonderful performers. They know they come in at least to audition. These gals get a shot because they're consummate professionals, and I mean it.
Sailor Moon.
I have a few questions and everybody wants to know this time. Like I'm in theater at York University here, so I'm wondering, as being a voice actor, what inspired you first to start as a voice actor? How long have you been in the industry before doing Sailor Moon, and what training did you have to go through to get there?
Funny you should ask. I actually went to York for a year. Yeah, there you go. And then I stopped and I started acting. And then I went, oh, I don't have any direction. I need direction. I need direction. I want to know where I'm going. And I was working at that point, but I was sort of like, ah. So I went back to Ryerson. Sorry. And in Ryerson, it was a theater school, and they had a voice class as well. So I took this voice class, of course, because it sort of had to do everything. And I loved it. As soon as I got in a studio, I just went, oh, I love this so much. I just felt so safe, and I loved having the headphones on. I loved everything about it. For those of you who think that voice acting, it sounds like the best job in the world, it is. Love it. So anyways, well, when I was at in this class, we had a guest come in who did animation. And I was in awe. Immediately, I knew her voice. I knew the things that she'd been on. I just heard it and just went, oh, I know her. And she gave away many of her secrets. Foolish woman. And I just ate up everything she said. I just sat there bathing in what she said, and I worshipped her. And that person is right here. Down the road, I was like, oh, I'll tell you, every time I go into a still, when I go into an audition room and she's there, I'm like, grunt.
Gosh, I mean, that's just, I remember that day at Rice, and that was the very first time that I ever did that seminar, and I was so nervous. And I walked into the classroom and I thought that I would be able to, be far away up on a lectern or something, but I was actually sitting at a table like this, and I had all my notes about what I was going to say, and my hands were shaking so much that I couldn't even pick up my paper. So I'm kind of like going, when you try to, you pick it up, your hands are going to shake, so you just kind of like take the paper and sprinkle it all over the place. And I was just so nervous. And then a couple of years later, I saw you at an audition, and you got the part.
Yeah, I did.
No. This was the Avengers.
Oh, that was my first part too.
So can you imagine? So there I am. I've just done this class a couple of years ago, and I remember you specifically from the class because you.
So was like this?
Yeah, you asked questions, and so afterwards, my agent phoned and he said, "Oh, it was between you and another new performer." And I'm sorry to say, she got it. And I said, "Who was it?" And he said it was Ballantyne. And I went, "What were you saying about the hints or tricks that I gave away?" So anyway, it was. I said, if anybody were to get it, I'm really glad that it was her because I liked her right from the start. Okay, so next question. Yes.
Oh, did Katie?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Whatever. Don't worry about me, Susan.
That's why I'm here.
There's favorite over here. Just one second. No, I'll keep it brief. I do a lot of, or not a lot, but I do some on-camera stuff. So I was acting before voice acting, and then a friend of mine, who was the original Darian, Reno Romano, said, "You have to audition for this." So he basically asked Nicole to see me because I wasn't getting an audition for it because I hadn't done any voice work before. So I went in for Sailor Mars, and that was my very first voice job.
Just like that.
Just like that. She's so special to me. So yeah, and now I haven't looked back. That's primarily what I do.
What is the most memorable moment out of the entire, like, backstage, everything of Sailor Moon itself?
For me?
All of you.
All right, for me, it was when I finally got to a place, because when I first began, I was trying to imitate Terry Hawks. And like I said, we didn't have YouTube. I couldn't go home and just sit there and watch and watch and watch and watch and try and memorize and learn and learn. It was all like, okay, they maybe play me one line, and then they were like, okay, go. And I'd be like, okay, and I was just getting so frustrated. Like the first few episodes, I was so frustrated. And they'd say, this Nicole, who was our director at the time, would go, too old, she's too old. So I'd be raising my voice. And it got to a point where I was just screaming all the time. And I was so frustrated with it. And I would go home crying, saying to my husband, I don't know what to do, like she's just getting me to scream all the time, and that's not what I think this character should be. And every day he would say, you have to make it your own. Make it your own. They don't want my own, they want Terry, what am I gonna do? And he was like, just make it your own. Babe, make it your own. Just keep saying that. And then one day I went in there and went, okay, I'm not yelling anymore. I'm not doing this screamy thing anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm doing it the way I want to do it. And that's when, to me, the character started to fold into the one that I had created. Like more of a goofy teenager who teenagers are amazing. Don't tell my daughter I said that. Yeah, except Shay. Shay's perfect. But teenagers are amazing because they're that cross between a child and an adult, and they don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know how to take that. So there's these perfect little teenagers that are like goofy, young people head, and then all of a sudden they've got to save the world. They're there and they've got this responsibility like an adult, and that's the part that I just loved about that. So that was sort of my moment, I would say.
I can't remember what the question was.
What's your most memorable? What's the most memorable?
When I listened to my husband. So glad he's not here. I was just gonna say.
We did so many episodes, I can't pinpoint one specific memorable moment except that this is like, but a friend of mine was a school teacher and she was teaching grade 3s and I was well into the series and she said, you have to come in, you're Sailor Mars, you have to come in and be Sailor Mars for these kids. And I just was so proud of myself. I'm like, oh, I have arrived. I am Sailor Mars. And I was so excited. And I went into the classroom and I got up in front of all these kids and I went, I'm Sailor Mars, and did my whole thing. And they all looked at me and they went, and I went, no, I'm Sailor Mars. I do the voice for Sailor Mars. And now this is a bunch of 7-year-olds and they're all looking at me, no, you're not. And it was just, so that's kind of a memorable moment, and I was walking away going, no, I totally am. And I'm like, sure, okay, that's great, bye. So that's my memorable Sailor Mars moment.
I'm just trying to think about a memorable, it all, and it's funny you used the word backstage.
Well, because it doesn't have to be exactly, things you've done in the backstage, that's very memorable. It's more or less on-set stuff. It doesn't have to be, acting-wise, more or less.
But behind the scenes, I'm just saying, but a lot of the times we were by ourselves when we were recording. So there wasn't really a lot of, back and forth between us. And it was actually great when we would go in and find out that I never actually did any work. Sailor Moon always recorded by herself because she had the bulk of the dialogue to get through. And then sometimes we would work together. Different Sailor Scouts would be paired up. And that was really great because then we got to, hi, how's it going? But it was a little lonely sometimes. So, and it went by too fast. So I'm just going to say, I don't know, darling. I'm sorry. No memory.
I have a very interesting memory. It was the day I got fired. Now, I told you that we worked with a kind of a crazy lady. I was fired very, very late on. I don't even know. It was I was fired after the series. The series was completed, and that's the story, Susan. Here's one. It's like, I was done. She said, "You're fired. Don't come back. I'm not working for you anymore." And I went away. I was like, "Wow." That had been my first voice directing hire. Whatever, 20 years ago. And so I was somewhat devastated because I was a working performer, but I had found that I really loved doing the voice directing. And that's still a great love of mine today. And I finally called her and I said, we have to get together at Dogwood. And I met her at a little restaurant out near the studio. She was doing some post-production. And I said, I think I did a really good job. I did everything you wanted. I brought my heart and my soul and my spirit to this job. Why did you fire me? And she said, you are too good to the performance. And I said, what? I was absolutely incredulous. She said, you are too good to the actor. She should not be as good. And from that moment on, I knew I was really glad I'd been fired. She, in fact, hired me later, because I guess she couldn't find anybody else who would work with her. She, in fact, hired me for a few more projects. Pardon me? Well, she felt, in her way, that you've got to be strict with performers, and you guys know.
Yeah.
I'm strict, huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds good enough.
So, I don't believe in that kind of, I'm not, whatever. Yeah, exactly. That's what we did have on Sailor. We had fun. We laughed. I mean, sometimes it was at our producer's expense, mind you, but we did at least laugh a lot. And I think that's one of the blessings we have all doing what we do. We have a chance to sort of laugh at it and laugh with it, and there are enough breaks that we can relax and joke around and become friends.
Rainbow.
In what ways are you similar to your characters?
I didn't have a character, I'll pass it.
Clearly, my hot body.
I know this is going to sound crazy, but I really am very, very similar to Sailor Mars. I don't have special powers to do things. But I was saying this earlier, but other than she's an Aries and I'm a Capricorn, I actually feel, and also I think she likes some crazy food. I think she likes vegetarian pizza with it, which is crazy to me. But other than that, we have a lot of similar characteristics. So, yeah.
It's funny the way a lot of us, I think, as much as Nicole was perhaps a little bit of a thorny person, she did cast this series very well. I think all the Sailor Scouts' voices really match the appearance of the Scout and also their personality really match well. So in my case, I love horses. I think I am feisty. If you're going to stand up and say, I don't think you're pretty, or I don't think you deserve that, I'll say, well, I think you're wrong. So there.
All right. Well, looking back, there were a lot of cuts from the early seasons. But if you were to go back and view them, like for instance, that little face that Sailor Mars does at her debut episode, what would you do?
If I were to go back and you're saying, would I do anything differently, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And this goes for everybody in the entire cast.
When I watch the original stuff, because I've been doing this for, well, now 20 years, because Sailor Moon's 20 years for us. When I watched the very first, I think Sailor Mars came in, maybe, yeah, look, I'm looking around, everybody's like, close, Katie, oh my God. So yeah, when she came in and I watched the very first few episodes, I was talking, I could tell that I wasn't in her character yet, because in the very beginning, this is to just digress just for a tiny bit, Sailor Mercury, Karen and I sounded a lot alike. And we both have very high voice. We could have very high voices, and I could have done the Alex voice from Totally Spies, but I didn't have to do that. But our voices were so similar that we had to settle into our voices. So when I watched the first few episodes as Sailor Mars, I wasn't really talking as Sailor Mars. I was talking in this it was just slightly, I could tell that I wasn't quite there yet. So,
I don't think I wouldn't change anything, and there was no time to change anything. That's the most important thing. When we recorded this, it just went by lickety-split. I think you all know, we've talked about it before, that's recorded with the Rhythmo Band, which is very much like a karaoke bar under the screen. So there's a big screen, and you're looking at the action, but most of all, you're looking at the words coming across the bottom. And the words are coming, and then when they hit a certain point, you can say the words. And you don't know what's going on because sometimes the words aren't there yet. And then sometimes the words will be, as we were saying, I love you will be written I-L-L-L-O-O-O-O-O-O-B-B-B-B. So you're starting, I love you. And you're only going according to the bar. You're not looking, that's what John's doing. He's the whole time looking at the characters' mouth movements to make sure that everything is really matching. So as you can imagine, there's not a lot of time for deep analysis. It's just say it. Just how do you act in Sailor Moon? You just go in and you do it.
May I add to that scripts were never sent out in advance. With most anime dubbing, you don't get a script in advance. As opposed to original voice recording, where you will get a script anywhere 3 to 5 to 7 days ahead of time, even if you're doing a guest role or a regular. But in dubbing, you walk in and you read that line for the first time as you're recording.
Although, I did get a stack of scripts.
Did you?
Yeah, but
they're old ones.
They were old ones. They were the direct translation from Japanese to English. And it was just so she said, look at this and get an idea of what this show is about. Okay. And so the English was very strange. It was just very disjointed, and most of the time it didn't make sense. And she'd say stuff like, oh, you speak Japanese. Oh, that's so good. I speak Japanese too. That's all I speak is Japanese, And yet it was, of course, translated later. Oh, you speak English. Oh, I speak English too. I don't speak anything else but English. So, for me, if I was going to change anything, I would change absolutely everything. I am a perfectionist, and it drives me crazy. Like, listening to anything I've done, I go, why did I breathe there? My mini moons have also shown up, and my Darien have shown up. Yes, embarrassing. My daughter Jackie, put your hand up. That little girl back there was not even 1 when I did Sailor Moon. And she was this little tiny thing that had this white blonde hair. And when I was trying to warm up, my voice I was always losing my voice because I was screaming so much. And so I'd walk around home going, oh gosh, and I'd be talking to the kids like this, and they just sort of look at me like, you're an idiot. They always look at me like that. And Jackie was so little, and I'd walk around going, and she'd go, and I'd say, are you making fun of me? And she'd say, she still does.
Okay, question.
New question. You've asked a question.
How about
before, right?
right here?
I just had a question. There have been rumors going around that Funimation was looking to redub Sailor Moon. Do you know if that's true? And if it is, would you like to go back?
Always.
Let me. We did panel this morning, and that very issue came up, and we were informed. The young lady may be in the audience right now. I don't know.
There she is.
There we go.
Why don't you stand up
Yeah.
and say what you
Why
said?
don't you give the information? I'd heard it was being done. I've heard about it for 3 years. Heard it was being done somewhere in Texas. This young lady has the skills.
Yeah, either
Stand up.
Dallas is where it's situated, as far as I know. There have been rumors about Funimation for a while, because there have been a lot of polls asking about how the people who are following Funimation would receive the news? Like, would they want, say, re-releases of the old movies and have lots of like leading questions like that? So they would do a lot of research on it. So it's not kind of, I'm not saying it's confirmed, I know, but they're definitely the ones that are really going for it. Whether they actually get it or not, I don't know. But when it comes down to it, it's going to be a total reboot in the series. It's not tied into the old series or anything. It's a sequel.
So you're saying that they will be starting right from scratch?
Yeah, what she's saying is they'll start right from the very, very beginning. It may be re-edited somewhat. It may be...
More closely following the
Yeah, well, what I've heard is confirmed, like not Funimation, but like following, and that there's going to be a new season. That was actually my question. But like, there's going to be a brand new season of Sailor Moon.
Correct.
And I think that's coming up this summer. Next summer. Yeah.
But it's a matter of whether they're going to revoice all of the original.
Could that be the Sailor
material.
Star series that they're doing?
No.
No, it's a new, brand new season.
So what we probably suspect is it won't be done. So that so it won't involve any of the original cast or.
Where do you sign up?
Start a
Do you
petition.
guys have like an opinion about the new season? Like, are you happy that it's continuing on, or
Without us?
Not without us.
No way. Are you kidding?
Suck.
I wish them nothing but disaster. Okay, seriously.
The fan in the very back.
Yep.
Me?
After the series is over, or like after you guys stop recording, was it hard for you to find to get out of your characters? Like when you got home, would you act like the characters you were given?
Yeah, I would always talk like that. I would. The thing is, every time you raised your eyebrow or your eyes opened wider or you did anything, they wanted a noise for it when I was doing it. So you'd be like, oh. And so I would literally, like they would go through the whole thing and be watching and I go, constantly watching for these little things going, I missed it, I want to go back. You know, so I found I was doing that at home all the time. One of the kids would say something, I go, I'm really irritating to my children.
I don't know that I was doing it all the time, but after, because we were screaming so much all the time, my voice, my regular voice, although right now it seems a little higher, but I think it's a lot lower than what Sailor Mars does, but after screaming and screaming, I would sound like Minnie Mouse. I would have this tiny little voice like, hi Katie, what? Where are you? Who are you? You know, and it was just, I could hear it in my voice. It was really hard for me to come back to a natural tone in my voice.
I'm glad you brought up the screaming. I don't know if you realize how much, I'm sure you do, how much screaming is involved in every single episode of Sailor Moon. I mean, and so we would, not that there's anything wrong with screaming. It's a great way to release, pent-up anger or whatever, but it really does wreck your voice. I don't know if any of you have ever just, gotten sort of really angry at somebody and you screamed your lungs out and then afterwards you went, ooh, wow, I don't sound like myself anymore. So that's what would happen is, and this rhythmal band would just say, a scream is usually just A, H, 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 H. So, and then you're looking up to see, well, why are they screaming? Are they screaming? Oh, they're screaming and they're twirling. Oh, great. So it's not just, it's, and there's nothing worse. And here's a hint. Cheap cartoon actors who don't do proper screams. This is something that, listen to some of the shows that are popular now, and you'll hear the lazy actor. And you know he's supposed to scream or he's supposed to fall. Pardon me. So a fall is supposed to go like this. It's always written oof, O-O-F, in the script or on the rhythm end. So it says character falls, so it's going to look like this. Fall, 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 land is oof, right? So it's supposed to be done like this. So you start to fall. That's the fall. That's the land, right? The lazy actor goes like this. usually a teenage boy who wants to get out of there. He says, I know I'm earning $50,000 a year doing this show, but I gotta meet my friends afterwards. So he's lazy. And so he's supposed to be falling off the cliff, and he goes like this, oof. And you hear the actual oof. Now does that sound like somebody's landing on the ground after falling off a cliff? Who goes oof? Nobody goes oof. The sound, just in case any of you ever do any voice acting, the sound is this. Oof. Okay, can we all do it? 1, 2, 3. Oh, higher. Oh, one down.
Question? We had somebody else at the back, I think, did we not? You got really angry that we took her.
One thing I wanted to point out is that as a kid, the Sailor Moon says, which is the message at the beginning of every episode, I'd always used to follow that as a kid. I would like to know how that happened, why you guys decided to do that, and also what's your favorite Sailor Moon says.
I think they stopped Sailor Moon Says when I started.
Yeah.
Thank you for confirming that. You may answer this now.
I honestly don't remember. I think we did that in Totally Spies.
That was the confession.
You know what? I'm gonna. It's all the same. It's kind of blurring together for me because I was Alex on Totally Spies, so we used to do very similar things, but. No, I really don't remember what a specific thing Mars would say, except like, believe in yourself or something, at the end.
I'm not remembering any specifically, but I think I mentioned this yesterday. I thought that part of it was great, because they would just sit and talk and chat about stuff that seemed to be really ordinary, and like problems that would crop up at school, or problems that, you're standing at your locker and somebody comes along and says something that's rude or horrible and then walks away, and you feel crappy for the rest of the day and you don't know what to do about it or where to go with it. And the fact that it was so neat that all that stuff was addressed. And I would like to know if that section, does anyone know that Sailor Moon Says, was that in the original, in the Japanese? No. So some writer somewhere, probably a Canadian writer, had the footage and said, well, what are we going to do with this footage of this girl sitting and talking? And then, pardon me, I do voice work and I got a froggy in my throat. Oh my God. So some writers came up with this wonderful idea, and we don't even know who the heck it was. We don't even know who wrote all these. Well, maybe on the credits that flash by like this, that you can't ever see it.
If I might add something, most of the footage that came from Japan needed to be dramatically and drastically edited, because there were certain things that we couldn't use for North American consumption. Therefore, the shows were really seriously edited. And when you take out certain entire scenes or a certain storyline, you've got to rewrite the script. All you've got to do is, if you've got the footage and it's all cut, you just have to make sure that the new storyline that's written matches the lips. So that the dialogue had to be massaged so that it would still match the lips. Consequently, many episodes came up short. And so when they did have additional footage, if they could add it in, since there were no serious costume changes, as you know, they would be able to fabricate a 1-minute slug at the end that would take up the time that compensated for a lot of the edits that went on, that had to be done. And that still goes on today. Almost all anime that is reconfigured for North American audiences. They don't have, when you see a kid riding a bicycle, they don't have a helmet. You cannot run any animation in North America with a kid on a bicycle without a helmet. So it's either got to be reanimated. That's a safety. That's all the new stuff that goes into original voice and and anime as well. There are so many restrictions now. Weapons, small knives and things like that. You know, they have to somehow reanimate to get rid of the weapon and put a zucchini in or something. Right. Well, you know, that's the way it is. If you go back and watch, I voice directed Beyblade, the original Beyblade, and it just killed them. They would have to send stuff back that they couldn't use. They would have episodes that were supposed to be 22 minutes long. They came in at 16. What do you do? They had to cut so much out.
So just like with that example, when it was like 16 instead of 22, what did you end up having to do?
I don't know. I panicked. Out of my end. Yeah. It never really got to me having to do anything really beyond my jurisdiction. It would be the producer who would get it and say, and have to put back my phone calls or arrange to have something done. They have the ability to reanimate and substitute scenes, or they would steal again. The costuming was identical. It was the same thing in every episode. They could steal some footage from somewhere else, build a little bit of a scene, extend the scene. One of their beasts. You can extend that fighting scene if you only write dialogue underneath.
No. All right. Yeah. Would you ever go and watch the episodes of cinema in Japanese when you were younger, just to see the differences? Would we now? Ever? Or when we were doing it? Whenever.
Well, they would show us, sometimes they would show us it right before we do the take. So they say, you want to see it in Japanese first? And you go, okay. And then you see this, and so we'd see sort of basically what was going on. And we'd be like, okay, I'm not going to do anything like that. So we see a little bit of it, but I've never seen the whole thing all the way through.
I remember seeing clips of it, and I always thought, and I don't know, because I don't know Japanese at all, but I always thought Sailor Mars sounded way whinier in Japanese. Because, you know, I don't think I whined, really. Really.
Whiny, cheesy. I watched a couple of bits of the first episode when we first started working on it, and I couldn't really differentiate between the Sailor Scouts when I was watching it because I also don't speak Japanese and I don't understand it. So I actually found it a little more confusing. But one thing that I did note when I was I sounded there like I don't know where I'm from, but I lost the will to live. This is one of Sean's favorite expressions that he used to say way back when he was a young and skinny man. And he was a young and skinny man, I'm not sure. So, yeah, I don't know. You know what? We're getting tired and it's kind of airless, and I love it. So we're all cooking.
Just so you know, Susan, you're totally out of the beauty contest at this point.
Let me add something in terms of listening to the original track. The company as a voice director, and I'm really, really disappointed that it didn't help them as performers. But the emotion. If you listen to the music, we basically had to duplicate the same music. If it was, why do you want me to go? Instead of, why do you want me to go? Well, because we weren't given a lot of lead time and we didn't have a lot of scripts ahead of time, although I had a couple of days ahead, but they had to know when they listened to the Japanese track that it was da-da-da-da-da-da-da instead of da-da-da-da-da. That's the advantage of having it, just to pick up that too. I understand we have time for one more question.
He's got a really great question.
Yes. The back you were...
Hey, so anyway, I have two questions. They're both kind of short. First one, do you ever break into the theme song randomly?
Never running from a real fight. She is the one named Sailor Moon.
Yeah, you're gonna talk about that.
Do you ever get into a really bad situation in real life or even recording and you think to yourself, WWSMD, what would Sailor Moon / Mars /
I often find myself going, Darian? Where is he?
Well, Sailor Mars was a warrior, so yeah, no, I don't know if I specifically go to Mars, but I am a very strong person. So yeah, I never asked for Darian, which is why you got him.
Ask and ye shall receive.
One of the things, actually, I do this in my real life, and I swear to God. And what it is sometimes, you know, when you're about to do something, like remove the raccoon from the garbage pail. Because I opened it, you know, I went, oh my God, and I went back like 2 hours later, and I said, I have to do this, and I go, I can't do this, I can't, because I just can't do it. And you know what I did? I said to myself, wait a second, wait, okay. So there I am standing there all cowardly. I said, stand up tall, be like Sailor Jupiter, and say, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And up I went, and I took the lid off, and I went, ah, and I put the lid
Before we go, we really should get these guys to do their calls.
Deep breath. Okay, here we go. Oh my God! All of these pictures will be plastered across the internet tomorrow. Thank you for that, guys, because I'm sure they're all going to be so attractive. Okay. Jupiter! Thunder! Crash! Mars, Celestial, Fire, Surround! Moon, Cosmic, Power!
We're out